There we go. Hello, everybody. I finally got everything figured out now, and I'm ready. And you want to know something really funny? I bet Alex still can't hear me. Because you know why? I keep everything really loud. Watch this. Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
See? What's up?
I'm having trouble hearing what you're saying.
Right now?
You're cutting in and out, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. I will fix that.
So, you're the fixer.
I am the
You'll fix anything.
It's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
There.
So,
Is that better?
well, you'll need to continue talking.
Yeah. It should be fine. We should be fine right now. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, hi. Now that I'm
Hi.
done fixing all this shit. Oh my goodness. All right. So today we're going to talk about Holy Paladins 5.4.2 PvE. There's a lot to talk about. So we're going to kind of give you a general guide of what you should do, what you kind of a basic. I don't know how to describe it. Like a basic tree to follow, talent tree of the past, I guess, of sorts.
Cookie cutter build.
Cookie cutters. I don't know. Everyone plays it so differently, and if you talk to someone that's been playing for like 6 years, I'm going to tell you that we're wrong and that you should do it this way. You're going to talk to someone else, they're going to say, no, absolutely right. We should definitely do it like that. So, I mean, take our advice. It's definitely a great place to start, but if you feel like that doesn't work for you, then that's fine too. There's always ways to switch up this spec and the way that you play it. So feel free to experiment around a lot with it because you may find that you like a different setup a little bit. But this is always a great place to start. Per usual, we're going to be talking about the talents first. For the first couple talents, it really isn't that big of a deal. It doesn't really matter. So we're not really going to talk a lot about those. Speed of Light is going to be your tier 1 talent of choice just because it's an on-use speed burst that will put you where you need to be when you need to be there. There's not really much else to say about that talent. It's very basic. It's just a movement talent tree option, and Speed of Light is definitely the default choice.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like the monk roll. It's just excellent to get out of trouble really quickly, and you start to glow all nice when you run as well. So it's always a bonus.
So people that like the aesthetically pleasing part of the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Paladins are very sparkly.
That's true. That is
very,
true.
Very, very sparkly. They might be vampires.
It could be. So guaranteed though. Tier 2 is Fist of Justice. That's going to give you your extra interrupt because there's going to be times where you're going to need interrupt as part of the raid mechanic, especially in 10 mans. You need to try to utilize all of the interrupts that you can. So,
I mean, it's a stun, so you won't be able to use it all the time.
Right.
But, because there are fights where stuns won't work. But it's definitely a very good utility talent.
Absolutely. Now, Tier 3 is where we start getting into a little bit more options here in terms of how you're going to utilize your talents in raid makeup, whether it's 1025 or LFR or whatever. So Eternal Flame is what you're going to be using 80 to 90% of the time. It actually does replace Word of Glory. It heals your target for roughly equal to Word of Glory's healing, but places a heal over time on the target lasting 30 seconds. So this is going to be something that you're going to want. It's going to help out the raid healing quite a bit, and it's your default choice on most of the raids. Now, if there is something where you need faster casting time and you need to really get those heals out there in a more timely manner, maybe you're in a progressive raid or the other healers maybe just aren't quite as geared as you and you need to kind of help them out, spot heal a little bit better, Selfless Healer is going to be your choice for that.
Yes. I mean, my favorite is always going to be Eternal Flame, not only because it's a really nice song, but because I come from a holy priest's kind of point of view with always keeping hots on your target, like renew and stuff. And it's just the healing style that I quite enjoy. I play Mistweaver Monk now, and that's also based on hots a lot. And I don't know. It's a nice play style when you can keep your hots on people. It's like a delicate dance, and you just.
Well, I mean, it helps out a lot too. I mean,
it does. It's a really strong talent, and like you said, it is what you want most of the time. And you can macro in some bangles music with it if you wanna.
And there's other things that go along with these talents that we'll talk about a little bit later, that you're gonna kind of use depending on with your glyphs that you choose, with depending on the fight that you're in and your raid makeup and your skill level and all of that. So, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Tier 4 talents, Unbreakable Spirit is going to be your kind of your favorite choice here out of the three. And here's why. Your Lay on Hands spell can be used twice per encounter. It does reduce the cooldown of Divine Shield, Divine Protection, and Lay on Hands by 50%. So 2 Lay on Hands per encounter with the glyph that we'll talk about a little bit later is absolutely just a savior if you are needing those big heals and you need to use a Lay on Hands twice. A Lay on Hands is can be a difference between a wipe and a kill. So I know you probably want to talk about maybe Clemency a little bit or Hand of Purity, but Unbreakable Spirit is definitely one of your default choices.
Yeah, I mean, Hand of Purity is a talent that you can use when you have high periodic damage. But it's very situational, but it's useful, very useful. Just depends on what the encounter looks like. Clemency is actually a favorite of mine. I don't know. I guess I just like to put my hands on people. Many hands.
How am I supposed to not do anything with that? Oh my god.
I do my best here, Sean, to give you.
Rob, I'm expecting you to say something in this chat. Please say something. Okay, anyways.
But no, Clemency is really nice. If you don't glyph Hand of Sacrifice, you can glyph it so you won't take damage when you put it on someone else. But if you've not chosen that glyph for some reason, I mean, if you've got Clemency, you can Hand of Sacrifice 2 people at once, and then like Hand of Protection yourself to protect you from the damage. It's
you can put your hands on 2 people at once. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The best.
It's just a funny kind of trick you can do if you like that sort of thing. But yes, it depends entirely on what kind of which glyph you choose.
Sure.
But it definitely works. Or like I was in LFR earlier today with my Paladin, and doing General Nazgrim, and people were just taking so much damage from the assassins and didn't know what to do. And in situations like that, it's quite nice to have 2 Hand of Sacrifice and 2 Hand of Protection.
You have to make up for everyone else's terrible decisions.
Yeah, or Hand of Salvation to drop aggro on DPS that don't have the sense to use their own cooldowns to do that. Or if with tank taunts, you can if the other tank is having a hard time dropping aggro, with vengeance and everything, you can put Hand of Salvation on that one when he's not supposed to be tanking. There's so many uses for all of these hands. So Clemency is definitely something you can consider, even though Unbreakable Spirit is really good as well. Right. Lay on Hands is such a classic Paladin talent, and who
not
doesn't
to mention
want to get laid? 2
Divine Shields and 2 Divine Protections equals a lot of survivability as well for yourself. So the longer you can stay alive, especially in encounters where it's progressive rating, that's super important. And knowing how to or knowing when to use those abilities as well can save your raid from a pretty nasty wipe. So tier 5 talent, we're going to go with Holy Avenger. 2-minute cooldown that for 18 seconds causes your 18 seconds causes your abilities generate holy power to deal 30% additional healing. and 3 charges of holy power instead of 1. So basically what this does, the pro tip for this is it's burst healing, and you're going to be throwing some quick heals on time over people with Eternal Flame. So if you're going to be taking Holy Avenger and Eternal Flame, this is a really good combo to use, because you will put those dots on people to keep the rate up pretty significantly.
Yeah, I mean, you'll press your Holy Avenger, and then you know, Holy Shock to generate 3 holy power instead of 1. You can either Eternal Flame people, or if you're stacked up, use whatchamacallit. I forgot it now, obviously.
What are you talking about? Which one?
Not Holy Radiance, the other one.
Oh, Holy Shock?
No, the AoE heal. Jesus, how can I forget?
Because we're not thinking right now. Eternal Flame, Holy Radiance, Holy Shock. Beacon helps, Divine Light, Holy Radiance.
Well, you can, if you're stacked up, you can
Daybreak.
do your funny AoE heal. That's really pretty. It's got a 10-yard range. And it's much better than before, because like in Cataclysm, you had to stand behind people and heal the ones in front of you in like a frontal cone. And now you just heal about 6 people around you, 10 yards. So that's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. No, but I mean, a Holy Avenger is going to be your primary tier 5 talent for most of your encounters. So, like, again, this is just what we recommend. These are just things that you can try out and see if you like for yourselves. But feel free to switch up. I mean, Alex has already given a couple of really good points on why, like, Hand Purity and Clemency can be useful in encounters where maybe other people are inexperienced. You're bringing in people that are bringing in alts or that aren't geared as well, things like that. So. Tier 6 talents, you have Lights, Hammer, and Holy Prism are going to be the 2 you're going to be choosing from most of the time. Holy Prism is going to be your best overall choice. It does deal damage to the enemy and heals 5 nearby allies. But Lights, Hammer is going to be a better choice if the raid is grouped up for fights like Immersius and Malkorok. Those are really those 2 specifically are really great fights for Lights Hammer. But just do keep in mind that if you do use Lights Hammer, it needs to be put down in a place where you know you're not going to have to move, and it needs to be put down in a place where you can hit as many people as possible. So if your raid is spread out 5-6 yards each, that's a terrible time to use Lights Hammer, because you're only going to hit maybe like 3 raid members at most, where it's actually going to matter. So make sure they are tightly grouped up on certain fights like that, and then that will be your optimal healing AoE spell. So
yeah, I mean, Immersius, you spend most of your time spread out, so I'm not quite sure of that, but definitely Malkorok when
I think it's talking about like phases and stuff
damage.
With Immersius. I think that's what it is. I mean, it's and that's why it's very situational. I mean, you got to know, you got to do your research as a healer, know when these cooldowns are needed and when you need to use these talents. Whether it's going to be a lot of raid-wide damage going out, or you're doing a phase transition or whatever. It's up to you to know that stuff. It's not up to someone else to tell you that. So and that's where you choosing these talents plays a role in your raid makeup, whether or not you need to be using these. So
yeah. And I mean, Holy Prism, if you cast it on one of your raid members, you will do damage to enemies around you. So right. I mean, if you have a lot of trash around you, you can do that instead, just to help out in a little bit. I don't know how effective that is. Probably more effective to go for the heal, but it is an option.
So that's about that. That takes care of the talents. We want to fly through those just because there's gonna be a lot to talk about, especially when we're talking about rotations and there's just Holy Paladin there's just a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize there was so much to it until I started really doing a lot of research into it, and I was like, my God, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, but that's what makes it such a fun class to play nowadays. It's changed so much from Wrath, when you were just like a one button kind of arcane mage healer, tank healer, and you've gone to having many buttons and being a raid healer, more or less. You have a lot of AoE spells
Yeah.
and hots and stuff, and it's a very exciting class to play now.
It does.
I think.
It does
Very
take a lot
challenging.
of. That's the thing. That's the key word. It's challenging because it does take a lot of skill now to play this class. It wasn't like before where you'd beacon the tank and spot heal here and there. It has changed quite a bit. So, and especially
Yeah.
in 10-man rating, if you're not on your game, then it's not going to be good. I do want to hit up. Glyphs real quick.
Yes.
There's some major glyphs that we'll talk about. I'm going to talk about 4 specifically, but one of the first that I want to mention is Glyph of Hand of Sacrifice. It does cause your Hand of Sacrifice to no longer transfer damage from the target to you, and simply it reduces the damage that the target takes. So, for example, on Malkarok, if the tank is solo soaking Blood Rage, you can use your Hand of Sac without dying.
Your Hand of Sac. Oh my god.
You're the one with the hands on everything now, you know?
Yeah,
Hand on
but
sack.
that's
Hand on.
when I do it.
Hand.
You
Hand to sack
just-
shouldn't be such a new idea to you.
No, but it sounds worse when you say it.
Why is this? Why? Because. Why? I want to know why.
You're just I don't know. I'm innocent in a charming kind of way, and you're not.
You're the one that was making it a big deal, Miss Innocent.
Anyway, Glyph of Hand of Sacrifice. This is what I was talking about before. If you glyph with this, you obviously don't have to worry about taking any damage yourself.
Right.
If you choose to skip this, however, then Clemency might be a nice talent for you. So you can kind of use Hand of Sacrifice anyway, and not die.
Sure. Glyph of Divinity is one of the ones that I wanted to mention as well, because I did mention it earlier with Unbreakable Spirit. If you do use Unbreakable Spirit, this is the way it works, is that Glyph of Divinity increases the cooldown of land hands by 2 minutes, but it causes it to also restore 10% of your maximum mana when used. So if you time it out correctly, you should be able to get 2 per encounter for most encounters, and you're actually going to get 20% of your maximum mana back per encounter. And that's a lot, especially for Paladins. 20% is, managed correctly is going to make it so you don't go I mean, going as a Paladin is actually not as bad as it used to be, but it still can be done if you don't use a lot of your mana management. So,
yeah, because I mean, you have Divine Plea, which has I think it's a 2-minute cooldown.
Right.
But if you glyph it, it's 1-minute cooldown, but it reduces the healing by 50%. Not the healing, the mana. The mana you get back by 50%.
50%. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll get less mana back, but more often. I mean, this is like choosing between Mindbender and Shadow Fiend as a priest.
Right.
Shorter cooldown, less mana, longer cooldown, more mana. But yeah, if you're not like a shaman or a monk that can just go and then work their way all the way back up in the same kind of sense. So yeah, this is a very good glyph for Paladins, I'd say.
Glyph of Protector of the Innocent is also really nice. It works really well with Eternal Flame. Basically, this glyph heals you for 20% of the amount that Word of Glory or Eternal Flame would heal you for. But what it does is that if you use it with Eternal Flame, if you end up using Eternal Flame in specific encounters, it'll actually heal you back for 20%. So it is one of those, you get it back almost immediately, which is really nice. If you have one of those kind of oh shit moments, you just throw in one of those, and it does kind of, not to mention it does keep you up a lot too. So it's just a constant like heal, and that works out really nice for your raid as well, especially again in 10-man.
Yeah, and I mean, as a healer, your first priority is you. So a constant stream of incoming heals for you is really good. You are very exposed as a healer, very squishy. So yeah, you're gonna have to prioritize yourself, and then tanks, and last hunters and mages.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. We already talked about that last episode. If you're a hunter, you're terrible. So.
No, I love hunters. They're great.
My roommate is gonna freak out when he hears that.
Wow.
The last one that I want to mention was Glyph of Beacon of Light. It removes the
Yeah.
global cooldown of Beacon of Light, making it easier to change your beacon target, and it works really well with Selfless Healer. So that, again, is just something where if you're going to be needing to switch targets a lot, or at least switch where your beacon's going to be going, this is a glyph that you're going to want to pick up. And again, knowing the fight, knowing your role in that fight is going to make all the difference with these glyphs. So it's not a bad idea to, obviously you should have these anyways, and then switching them out as needed. So if you don't have at least these, I think we talked about 4. Yeah, these 4, you should get them. You have to have them. Hand a sack, especially. You gonna give me a funny laugh or a look now? No.
No.
Okay, it's definitely a must-have.
Indeed.
That's a must-have. So you got to have at least one of those, or at least that one. So
Yeah, well, Sean's gonna come and bonk you on the noggin.
I was gonna come over to your house
Tell
and
you that you're a terrible paladin.
tell you
don't
to
have a hand of sack.
and tell you to roll a hunter. So that takes care of our glyphs. We won't mention any minor glyphs. It's really not worth mentioning. So
Well, bubble hearth.
Well, yeah, of course. Well,
Except for that.
yeah. Well, if you don't know about that by now, then come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works for every spec. So,
It does. Yeah.
so let's talk about AOE raid healing a little bit.
I mean, for all your healing, you're always going to use Seal of Insight. So I don't even need to mention that anymore. Just Heal of Insight, done. Obviously, you will want to your beacon, your tank, and if you have Eternal Flame, which I hope you do, you'll cast that on many raid members as possible, preferably with 3 Holy Power, but that depending on how stressful it is, you can probably go down to 2 to get it out on more people.
Sure.
Cast it primarily on players that can benefit from the initial heal, obviously, but if the raid damage is low, you can just prep the tanks with the hot, because they are usually the ones that take more consistent damage. And to generate your holy power to fuel your eternal flame, you will do holy shock on cooldown. It's a really cheap heal and will generate 1 holy power. And when you're stacked, you use holy radiance, obviously. You can use Crusader Strike as well to generate holy power. But I mean, if you need to be in melee range, obviously, which is kind of hard sometimes. And I think if the damage is higher, you'll probably just want to go with holy radiance all the way and just forget about Crusader Strike.
Right. And the things
you have it.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nope.
The things to keep in mind, though, too, is that a lot of times you're not going to be in melee range. There are going to be times when you're going to be away from the boss, so you're going to need to negate Crusader Strike altogether and actually use your Holy Radiance a little bit more extensively, just because you absolutely need to be building those Holy Powers. So, secondly, you can use Light of Dawn instead of Eternal Flame if there's at least six targets. So that's something else to keep in mind. But if you're facing a lot of heavy raid damage, that's not something that you'd really want to do. Know if there's going to be any heavy raid damage. If there's not, and you need a lot of people healed, Light of Dawn is going to be really great instead of Eternal Flame.
Yeah, it is. Light of Dawn was the name of that lovely AoE spell I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there we go. Light of Dawn. Now, something else to keep in mind, too, if there's no raid damage, you should try to keep your Master Shield up on as many players as possible, which obviously will help with mana management and help preventing other healers from using cooldowns unnecessarily or untimely, making sure that they're available to the raid leader when he calls for them. It's also important to make good use of your Daybreak charges, since it provides strong raid healing, and you want to be using that as much as possible. So let's just say... instead of Eternal Flame, we take Selfless Healer, and let's throw that into the mix. Now, okay, how does that change things up a little bit?
Well, you will want to cast Judgment to proc Selfless Healer, and Holy Radiance to use up the Selfless Healer buff.
Okay.
You'll generate 1 Holy Power by doing that, and also proccing Daybreak.
Right.
And Daybreak is a kind of interesting proc, which you will want to be aware of. You need to be aware of where you're stood when you're using it. basically, after casting Holy Radiance, your next Holy Shock will also heal other allies within 10 yards of the target, and divided equally among all targets. Stack up to 2 times. And it's also, you need to be aware of which target you choose, so they're not stood alone somewhere, because you know, then no one will benefit from the AoE heal from it, which, you know,
would suck.
Would be a waste. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and you'll want to use Light of Dawn as well when you have 3 holy power.
Okay. So that's gonna be your biggest differences if you pick up Selfless Healer instead of Eternal Flame.
I think Selfless Healer seems like I've not played it because I like I said, I like Eternal Flame, but it seems like it's a rather fast and fun kind of healing style. You get to use your judgment as well, which is kind of fun. I'm definitely going to try it.
So it's stacked with haste.
Yeah.
I mean, it can, and that's the thing. It is more, almost like a warrior kind of idea where everything's kind of going on really fast, and there's a lot to keep track of, and there's a lot of spells that are just flashing in front of your face. So it's one of those play styles. So you know, and again, you know, we mentioned it earlier. What do you like? What do you prefer? This is just a method. You know, a couple of these methods are just things that we're showing you as something to go off of, and then as you get more comfortable, you'll start feeling around different ideas and different specs and different stat priorities. So something we haven't mentioned yet, we have talked about AoE healing, we've talked about specific types of talent healing, whether you picked up this talent or that, but we haven't talked about tank healing yet. So tank healing is not really something that paladins are known for, but however, you could be required to do it, so it is important to know. Although the bulk of the healing that's done through tank healing is through Eternal Flame on both tanks, as well as raid members with direct heals. There's different abilities you want to use depending on the amount of damage that your tank is or the raid is going to be receiving. So basically the general rule of thumb is to keep Eternal Flame or Sacred Shield and Beacon of Light up on your assigned tanks. Okay, and then, you know, if you have glyphed into Beacon of Light, you want to make sure to move that beacon around when necessary. So if you feel like your tank is good and maybe you can jump it to the off tank here real quick or something, you know, something like that where it's not going to cost you anything and is going to be beneficial to keep that other tank alive. So we'll start by talking about when there's low damage going out. You know, of course, you want to keep extensive use of Eternal Flame. You want to use your Holy Light and Word of Glory if you're not using Eternal Flame as a talent, but we will be talking a lot with if you do spec into Eternal Flame. So you want to be using those on any raid members that require healing. Also, you want to be as the initial heal as well as a hot, you want to be using both to be a component of your beacon target. So you want to use Holy Shock on cooldown. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So that's all. You always want to use Holy Shock on cooldown, no matter what kind of healing you're
and all you're really doing there is just blanketing the raid with some hots. I mean, you're not really doing anything crazy. You're using Eternal Flame, some Holy Shock. Okay, nothing really much is going on. Your beacon's helping you out, so that's great. So say now there's a moderate amount of damage. You do want to keep using Eternal Flame on all of the raid members. You want to start casting your Holy Shock. Again, Word of Glory if you don't have Eternal Flame, and on your tank, and you want to use Divine Light on your assigned tank if their health drops too low. There's a good chance, even in 10 man, you will be assigned, you know, the tank if there happens to be an off tank for that specific fight for 10 man. You know, you're either going to be on one or the other. You may be assigned to heal both if need be, but you want to save that Divine Light for that assigned tank if he does drop, say, below like 15%. You don't want to go too low because then he can just take a one shot and die. So right around 12-15% is good. A lot of people now, they use LUI or they're using Evil UI. A lot of those percentages do show now. So look for that and you'll be good. What's funny? Is LUI funny?
I don't know. Maybe.
You don't use that. What do you don't even use the add-ons, do you? I mean, in terms of like
of course I do.
Do you use LUI? Okay. That's what I use.
Yeah, no, it was the percentages.
Oh.
I don't know. I find it funny. Basically, what you want to do is, as the higher the damage becomes, you'll skip out on the small cheap heals and go for the big expensive ones. It's and if it's really an emergency, you just flash them. I mean, I know I've said before that it's rude to flash people, but in emergencies, you're allowed to flash them. You have my permission.
The last thing I want to talk about, well, there's two more things I want to talk about, but we did talk about low, moderate, and now high sustained damage. So when there's a lot of heavy damage going out, you want to make sure to use your Divine Light, Holy Shock, and Eternal Flame on your assigned tank. But you want to make sure to get rid of Holy Light, because this low throughput will cause you to fall behind. Now, if it's an emergency, you do want to use Flash of Light, like Alex said, but it's only if you think the tank is going to die or the raid member is going to die, because your Flash of Light is such an expensive cost to get that heal out, that it really needs to be an emergency situation.
Just use it if you don't think a Divine Light will make it in time.
Right. So yeah, there you go. That's your tank. That's your tank healing right there. So again, there's different abilities you're gonna be using for low, moderate, or high damage or emergency situations, but a lot of it is still blanket healing, and then using your bigger abilities like Divine Light and Flash of Light in emergencies. So it's really not too crazy. Where it starts getting a little bit dicey is when you start throwing in the cooldown usage. There are 9 cooldowns that the Paladin has at their disposal, with Defined Favor, Avenging Wrath, Guardian of Ancient Kings, Lay on Hands, Hand of Sack, Devotion Aura, Hand of Protection, Hand of Salvation, and Hand of Freedom.
I mean, Devotion Aura is probably, one of the most well-known cooldowns in the game.
Right.
It's just like...
that is something that you don't press. That is something that you wait for the raid leader to call.
It's usually decided when you want it. It's granting them immunity to silence and interrupt effects, and reduces all magic taken by 20 seconds. Right. So all magic damage, which is a lot in the many fights, this spell was what you would want to use. And I mean, usually you have several paladins, and you'll just assign them to different times to use the devotion aura, because it's such an important raid cooldown. Don't waste it. Your raid leader will not be happy with you.
No, and if you do accidentally burn it, you do need to let people know, because then they need to quickly shuffle around to get to make use of another someone else's devotion, or especially in 25 man. That way you can be thrown back into the rotation when yours is up off a cooldown. Avenging Wrath is always good too, since we did just talking about moderate to heavy damage. Avenging Wrath does increase your healing output by 20%. So when there are periodic times of, I don't know, I can't remember that.
High damage.
Periodic times of high damage. I mean, it is sustainable damage. You want to make sure that you're getting the most use out of Avenging Wrath. I mean, you don't want to be doing it when, it's only like the boss is doing like a 5-second cast of like some kind of silly 50 or 60% increased speed of attack, and then all of a sudden you're not really getting a good use of your Avenging Wrath there. So make sure that you try to get as much use out of it as you can, but don't, I think this is true for all classes. One of the biggest problems a lot of players have is they don't use their abilities enough. They always save and save and save and save and save, and then they don't, you're not making good use of your class in that manner. So
you need to find a balance between using cooldowns on cooldown, basically, so you can fit as many of them as possible into an encounter, and saving them for certain periods in the fight that when you need extra healing, usually when you stack up and pop your cooldowns kind of situation. And it's all about finding that balance, and that just comes with practice and experience, I think. Working together with your teammates. But Avenging Wrath also, it gives you wings.
Yeah, which is always aesthetically pleasing to the people who like that kind of thing.
And if you glyph for it, it will give you 4 wings instead of 2.
Again, for the aesthetically inclined, that is all about that. That's a minor. That's a minor glyph, I believe, right?
It is. Yeah. We didn't talk about it before, but I thought I slipped it in.
We already have mentioned lay on hands a couple times, but it should only be used for primarily tanks that are about to die. So
yeah,
and you can macro some things in for that. That way you don't have to worry about it. You just press the macro and it takes care of it for you. So, and if you need to find some macros, go ahead and search the internet. There's a zillion macros for that kind of stuff. So we're not going to show you that stuff here, but you can easily look that up. Guardian, same thing. Duplicates all the healing you do for 15 seconds as well. Increases your haste by 10% during this time. So when you're going to be stacking, if you do play haste heavy Holy Paladin, that's 10% is another huge boost. So I mean, things are already just going to be lighting up like crazy. But with Guardian up, you're really going to be seeing some action going on. So that's always something that's really cool to activate when you do play a haste heavy build.
Especially if you press Divine Favor at the same time.
Yeah. Which temporarily buffs your spell haste and your crit strike chance.
Immensely.
Yep. Increases your healing output as well. So, times.
And you'll have a dude next to you healing. It's kind of cool.
Right. With Guardian, not with Divine Favor. In case you didn't notice, we went back to that real quick. So we've talked about most of them. The only thing we haven't really talked about is Hand of Sack, which we already have mentioned a little bit, which we'll talk about here in a second. Protection, Salvation, and Freedom. So Hand of Sack does transfer 30% of damage taken to you over 12 seconds, but you can glyph it, which is highly recommended, which then causes the ability to no longer transfer the damage to you. Instead, the target simply takes 30% less damage. And that's practical in almost every situation. So again, when I mentioned earlier, Glyph of Hand of Sacrifice is a must. This is the reason why. Before, a lot of paladins were really hesitant to use this spell because it was just something. First of all, it just wasn't something they used a lot, and second of all, it's a tricky spell to use because not only do you have to time it for periods of high damage, but you need to be stacking your hots that you do on yourself as well, so you can keep up your own self-healing while taking additional damage where you're not used to taking that damage. So a lot of people are afraid of changing up their niche and their kind of their playstyle and their groove. Like you're used to being a healer, like, okay, I'm healing everyone else's damage, rather than, okay, I'm choosing to take more damage now, so how is that going to affect my rotation? So, but I do like the changes that Blizzard made with Hand of Sack in terms of with the glyph, where it now is a lot more viable to use.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're no good as a healer if you kill yourself by putting Hand of Sacrifice on a tank. That takes way too much damage for you to
and that's why everyone's shied away from it. Why do it when you don't have to?
Yeah, no, I mean,
the whole point was tanks for tanks.
You can always make use of Hand of Protection in those kinds of situations, obviously, if you don't have the glyph.
Right.
But there are ways around it. But it's very useful glyph, and I think it's a good change.
Salvation does temporarily remove a target's threat, so that's going to be used on people that could do a lot of burst damage, maybe even beginning of raid encounters. They pop their macro a little bit too early, that kind of stuff, so that's something good to have.
I mean, my goodness, we have a Retribution Paladin in my raid team. We have him go through Warlock portals using Hand of Salvation, everything like that to drop threat before pulling. His burst damage is insanely high, and it does happen that he dies despite of all this, which is impressive and and a little bit inconvenient at the same time.
But I mean,
when he bursts like 1 million damage.
This is why that's here. This is why we do have Hand of Salvation for for times like that. Hand of Freedom.
Just Hand of Protection them and just take quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
No. This is the shush button.
Hand of Freedom is the last one we haven't talked about. It does remove movement impairing effects from the targeted raid member. which can be useful for like snares or slows or that kind of thing. But something to know is Hand of Freedom also removes other hand spells from raid members, so such as Hand of Salvation or Protection. So it can be used to remove a Hand of Protection from a tank. So a lot of people will have this macroed as well, where they'll Hand of Protection a tank to reduce some damage during some kind of cooldown from the boss or something, and then they'll Hand of Freedom them as well, because it's something else to keep in mind is when you Hand of Protection, the tank is going to lose threat. They're going to lose, he's going to, the boss might jump around, so it's something.
Yeah, the boss won't attack someone with a protection on.
So that's why the Hand of Freedom comes into play, and knowing that they're going to use that, that's something you want to get with your tank with, or get with your raid leader and say, okay, like I can macro this in, but they just need to know what's coming. So that way, when that happens and the raid leader calls for it, the tank will know to start spamming his taunt abilities, because just in case. You never know. I remember back in the day when people would put a Hand of Protection on, and then you'd have to right-click it off manually. And you have to find it in the mess of buffs and right-click it. And if someone like a druid or something's putting hots on you, and you have like, nourish and all these things are like popping up and everything keeps moving, so you're like right-clicking on, kings and all these other things you actually want, and then you like have to tell them invent, hey, you gotta put kings back on me, or this or that or whatever, Because I clicked it off accidentally. So those are your big cooldowns. Those are some descriptions of them and when to use them, and hopefully that will give you a better understanding of and maybe a little bit, I don't know, a little bit of a better way to use them. Maybe you didn't use Hand of Freedom a lot or Hand of Salvation a lot. Well, maybe you should. So be a better player for it. So there's normally now we'd start talking about like stats and that kind of stuff, but there's simply so much to talk about with the Holy Paladin that like we have to mention other things. This is basically just the base. This is how you play Holy Paladin. These are things that you do. But if you actually want to be a very good Holy Paladin and you want to utilize your talents, and this part of the show will kind of help you out. So with mastering Holy Paladin, it's kind of like with other, like we talked about last episode with the Hunter, with pooling your focus, it's pooling your holy power. So thanks to Balanced Conviction, it's a passive ability you don't have to worry about. You can have a maximum of 5 holy power at one time. However, you can only use 3 holy power at once, because obviously there aren't abilities that consume 3 or more. It's 3 at the maximum.
Yeah.
So you have to worry less about capping your holy power, and you can pool holy power in preparation for burst damage. For example, you can cast 2-3 holy power Light of Dawns in the space of 3 global cooldowns. So you do want to keep 1 or 2 holy power in reserve, just in case there are times of emergency situation when you need to use something. It could be anything. I can't, I'm not going to give you specifics, but you should know that pulling 1 to 2 of those will help you out. So
yeah, but I mean, if you have to, it's either you can always cast something, or you need 1, holy shock or whatever to get those 3 holy powers for a really nice big damage. Nice big heal.
Nice big damage.
Oh yeah. There's 2 procs that you really need to keep track of, and it's not hard because they have glowy animations on your screen. It's Daybreak and Infusion of Light, and we've talked about Daybreak before. It will give you an AoE heal that emits a heal from the target you choose. So make sure that there's people around your target. And Infusion of Light just it decreases the casting time of your healing spell a lot.
Holy Light, Divine Light, and Holy Radiance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't use it on Holy Light. That's such
that's
a small, cheap spell.
Yeah.
It feels really necessary. But, Holy Radiance and Divine Light, that will definitely, you get those big heals out really, really quickly.
Something I want to mention before we go too far down is, or continue too far into the conversation, is with Daybreak, you do get 2 charges at one time. And you also, the people around you get healed for 75% of the initial Holy Shock heal.
Target.
So, whoever you target, they're going to get the bulk of it. Everyone around them gets 75%, but you can hit it twice. So if people are just dropping like crazy, that's boom, boom. I mean, that's a lot of damage coming out, or a lot of healing coming out for the damage coming in. So that is something to keep in mind. You do get 2 per proc. No, that's only on proc. So same thing with Infusion of Light. So
yeah, it's very hard.
We're talking about on proc,
but very important to know.
Right. Something else they'll need to know as you continue on your Holy Paladin journey in World of Warcraft is your Beacon of Light spell and what it means when you provide the Beacon of Light benefit to in conjunction with your other spells. So Beacon of Light provides a benefit of free healing on a secondary target. Okay, that's what that's its base spell description. Now, when you cast another spell along with Beacon of Light, that secondary target is going to receive a certain percentage of the heal that you're casting. Okay, it's not like they're going to get a set amount for everything that you cast. So, for example, if you cast Holy Light, your beacon target is going to get 100% of whatever that heal is.
Of that heal, yeah.
Okay, if you cast Flash of Light, Divine Light, Holy Shock, Word of Glory or Eternal Flame, or Execution Sentence, are going to get 50% of that heal. And if you do Holy Radiance, Light of Dawn, Light's Hammer, and Holy Prism, it's 15%. So knowing that can also keep your tank alive, which is most of the time where you're going to have your beacon on anyways, is a tank. So knowing that, okay, well, I know I'm going to be using Holy Shock a lot or Eternal Flame a lot. I know that, my beacon target is going to be getting 50% of all these numbers I'm seeing on the screen. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. Like, okay, I know what he's going to get for damage, or he or she or whoever's tanking for you. I know what's coming in, I know what's going out, and now I can more efficiently manage my cooldowns and use them in a more timely manner without being told to use them, which is great for your raid leaders because then they can focus more on things that they need to focus on, because not only are they trying to follow their rotation, but they're also trying to keep an eye on everyone else and manage the group as a whole. So the more you can handle on your own end, and knowing these numbers does benefit everybody.
Love your gestures.
I need another drink. My throat is dying.
Well, one thing that's also good to know is that if you divine light your beacon target, you will also generate holy power. Yeah.
So that's a little trick. I mean, you need holy power quick. Boom, there it is. You're looking for that third divine light, 3 stacks divine light kind of thing. Like boom, there it is. So, I think we talked about since we are on talking about Beacon of Light, the Beacon of Light assignments. If you're assigned to raid healing, then you want to cast your Beacon of Light on a raid member that takes the most damage, which is usually a tank. But if you're assigned to tank heal, then you want to cast your Beacon of Light on a tank that takes the most damage and heal them directly with Divine Light or a Flash of Light. Okay?
Yeah.
Because then you can use those to dump your holy power and conserve some mana. So again, these tricks help you out, making you a better player and making it so you're not ooming yourself as quickly as you would if you weren't using these kind of helpful things. Speaking of helpful things, here's a couple of tips that will kind of bring it all together and to help you utilize your spec and your character to its fullest potential. So the first one I'll talk about is use Holy Shock and Flash of Light on your beacon target before the fight. So remember, Holy Shock and Flash of Light on your beacon target before the fight starts, and you get to start with 5 holy power charges. So that's a nice little tip to help you out, start of the fight.
Yeah, and the second tip, which I quite like, because it's, if you want to annoy those disco priests really a lot, you'll pre-heal the tanks before the fight, so you build up your mastery shield on them. So.
And that's always nice. I mean, why?
Annoy the disco priests and their bubbles.
The third tip that we have down here for you is use Holy Radiance to set up your mastery seals on your raid members. before the fight, or fights using pulsing AoE damage. So, because having those extra shields up on your raid members, again, it's helping you out. It's conserving mana. It's doing what it's supposed to do, and you're utilizing that spell to its fullest potential.
Yeah, and annoying disco priest is very important.
And the key is before, not when it starts, or slightly after it started. The key is before.
So you can drink to get your mana back up. Yeah.
Right.
But as a paladin, you have what most people would be jealous of, and that is what's commonly known as your bubble, but it's really divine shield. And that can totally help you totally bypass encounter mechanics to save you time, or save your raid DPS movement, or just allow you to stand still and channel heals when your raid health is low. It's such a good spell. And I mean, it just like lay on hands and stuff, it causes forbearance, but I don't see how forbearance it's not a big issue.
No.
That's just you can soak staff and continue to heal uninterrupted. It's probably one of your best cooldowns as a holy paladin,
and not used enough. So
probably not.
No, it's just not. Except
for like in PvP, that's all you want to do is just to make the paladin use their bubble, so you then can burn them down.
All right. And in PvP, we're talking about two completely separate things. Because then warrior can shattering throw and all that. So
yeah, you can master spell off the bubble as well, I think.
So those are a couple things to keep in mind in terms of getting the basics down, and then once you feel like you got the basics down, here's a little something extra to challenge yourself and make you a better player for yourself and for your team. So something we haven't hit on yet, which we normally have by now, is the stats. And there's multiple ways to play this class. There are several ways that we have found that we've researched from she plays a holy paladin. I have played a holy paladin. I leveled a holy paladin in vanilla, so I understand what it used to be like and how it's changed over the years. But here is just a basic starter idea to get you going, and then you can kind of fix it as you like. So when you freshly hit 90, you want to go intellect, spirit, then mastery. Those are your three big stats. So just who cares? Go crazy with all three just to get you going. And then from there, depending on whether or not you're going to be doing 10 or 25 man rating, it will switch a little bit. If you're going to be in 10 man rating, you're looking at intellect, spirit. Then you're going to be going haste at about 3600, which is your first break point for haste. And then you want to grab mastery. Now, I know Alex has done some research in where people have done preferred mastery over haste. So.
It's very different if you look at like World of Logs and stuff, what the top holy paladins use. I mean, some of them use Eternal Flame, some of them use Selfless Healer, some of them stack haste, others stack mastery. This is also probably, and I say this without being very good at math, a playstyle choice for most people.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I said, the haste is more of the fast acting kind of play style. There's a lot going on. You're proccing more. Your abilities are coming off cooldown faster. So, do you prefer the heavy hitting heals at a slower speed, or do you prefer more mana management and casting spells almost at will? So again, for 10 man rating, it's intellect, spirit, haste at 3600, then mastery. If you're at 25 man rating level, you're going to be doing intellect, then a little bit less spirit. Same thing after that, haste at 3600, mastery. The reason why you need less spirit is because you won't need to have what's the best way to describe this? You won't need to pull as much spirit, have as much spirit, because you'll have access to more raid-wide cooldowns, because you're going to have more classes in your raid team. So you're going to have access to Divine Hymn or, like Mana Tide or whatever, like you're going to have access to those, whereas in 10-man you might not. So you need more spirit because you need more mana to get you through fights where you might not have access to those kind of global cooldowns, where guess what, sometimes you're not. People are sick or people move or internet craps out, and you're going to lose some people that you may depend on a lot, especially in 10-man. That hurts a lot. So with 25, a little less spirit's okay, more int and haste mastery. So
Int. Oh my goodness.
What?
Sounds like a bug.
Kind of is. Once you start gearing up, things start changing a little bit, because now you are gear scaling, which is something we've talked about actually with the Red Paladin, which is ironic since we're now covering with the Holy Paladin. Right around 570 would be the minimum I would take it. You can now start going crazy with haste. So you go intellect, even lower spirit, because you won't need as much spirit now since your gear will provide that for you. You can now hit the second rank point of haste, which is 7,000 plus, and then you can go into mastery from there if you want to play a haste style. Again, this is completely up to you. These are just this is just a recommendation from us.
570 and upwards, that's heroic raiders.
Yes. So I mean, you at this point you kind of know what you're doing. I mean, and you can really switch up your gear. So.
Well, basically, just the better gear you get, the less spirit you need, and you can focus on the other ones. Right. Which is true for many of the healing classes, obviously, but especially for Holy Paladins.
But if you do go Eternal Flame, haste is super important for that. So just a side note.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
Alex is tired.
Alex is tired. Yes.
So that covers the stats. That was pretty quick. That was painless. I was a bad prot warrior. It sucked. It did suck. It was terrible.
Did it now? Well, I think we're starting to come to the end. There's a lot of things we haven't mentioned. There's a lot of things still that needs to be said. But seeing as we're focusing on people just picking up an old alt, I think we're going to stop here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we mentioned it a couple of times. Play this class like you want to play it. You actually do have the luxury of playing the class almost to your preferred playstyle, and there's a lot of classes that are not like that. And some people will tell you, to hell with Holy Priest and go, or to hell with Holy Paladin, go play Disc Priest. So, because they think Holy Paladins are that terrible. That's kind of the beauty of this game. People see the good and bad in everything, in every class, in every spec. Some people swear off it completely, and some people swear by it with their life. So this is just a general guide for you guys to get you started, to get you back into it, or playing it for the first time. And you definitely can't go wrong with this advice until things change, patches change, Warlords comes out, things like that. So I also think this is the first time we talked about stats and we didn't talk about expertise.
Well, no healers use expertise.
I know, but I'm saying, I feel like we mention expertise almost every time we talk about stats.
Except for when we're talking about healers.
But didn't we have talked about? We had talked about expertise with monks.
No.
Didn't we?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I was drunk. I don't remember.
Most likely.
All right, so if you didn't catch a lot of that, it is a lot of information. Obviously, feel free to tweet us, to email us. You can email us at edge@gmail.com or at blizzpro.com. It's all the same. You can catch us there. You can tweet us. I did add in. There it is. I'm getting my finger pointing the right way. It's at edge_BlizzProTV. That's for our Twitter that Alex and I will both manage, and then our individual Twitters are above our names on the screen in front of you. Anything you want to say? Any shout outs? Anything you want to say before we're out for the week?
I have a lot of things to say, mostly about Paladins, but I feel we should wrap it up now. I definitely feel that I want to play my paladin again. This happens every week.
Yeah,
seriously.
so it's a
When we
different
talk
class.
about a class, and I was just like, I need to play this again. It's so much fun. I'm a proper alcoholic, and you know, clearly I have problems.
Well, there you go. For those of you guys watching live and you want to rewatch this, or send it out to friends, which obviously we appreciate that greatly. If you can retweet us or send our show to other people to get our viewing audience bigger, is always better for us, so we appreciate that. Twitch is having some problems uploading its VODs onto YouTube right now, so the queue may take a long time. It could take 3 or 4 or 5 days to get up on YouTube, so please be patient, but we are working on that as soon as Twitch makes that available. Also, please make sure to check out blizzpro.tv to check all the other shows on there. With the Spotlight, and Hearthstone Happy Hour is always a good one on Monday nights with Zen Style and JR and Twiz. So if you like Hearthstone, that's kind of thing, I'm just obsessed with it now. I'd love to do some kind of Hearthstone show. It'd be awesome because I do spend so much time playing it now. So go check them out, give them some love. It's always great. If you do have any suggestions, something you'd like us to cover, we covered this week Holy Paladins based on a suggestion from one of our Twitter followers. So send us some suggestions, guys. We love hearing from you, and we'll make sure to tweet you back and keep connected with you if possible. We will be tweeting out as well what we'll be covering next week. We'll probably be doing that by tomorrow, so we can give you guys a long time, more of a heads up to get ready for the show. So like I said, if you have any recommendations, something you want us to cover, please let us know. And Rob says in chat he wants all the love he can get. So go follow him, Zen Style, Twitter and Twitch and Hearthstone.
He's got plenty of Hearthstone beta keys. Oh no!
Open beta. That's right. It's open beta for Hearthstone. So go check that out. He also does run the Hearthstone Blues Pro page. So he's a really great, knowledgeable card player in Hearthstone. So always a treat to check him out. That's gonna wrap it up for us tonight. We will see you guys next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 3 or 4 fucking a.m. whenever time it is in Sweden. And I'm gonna play the music again, so you probably are gonna not be able to hear me anymore. I'm sorry, Alex, but I'm gonna play the music again. Don't be mad, okay?
Okay. I won't.
All right, that's gonna do it for us, guys. We will see you next week.